Hello, this is Tom Stegelman and welcome to this first lesson of CNC Lathe programming. In this lesson we're going to be covering the G72 Canned Cycle used for rough facing. So let's see how that's done. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is cover the two axes used on a 2-axis CNC lathe. As you can see, we got the x-axis and the z-axis. Now the x-axis controls the diameter of the part. You can see the minus and the plus. Obviously in the minus direction the part would get smaller, and the plus direction the part would get larger. Then the minus and plus direction on the z-axis, minus towards the chuck and plus away from the chuck. So I just wanted to cover that real quick before we start talking about writing code for this machine. Alright, for our example we're going to be using a piece of material that is 2 inches in diameter, and we're going to be facing off 200 thousandths excess material using 40,000 passes until we have removed all the material, and then we're going to leave 5 thousandths for a finish pass. Now I want you to notice that before you start into the canned cycle you need to position your tool somewhat even with the excess material, and then 100 thousandths above the part for a safe clearance plane. So when we're through writing our G72 code, the operation should look something like this. We take a pass, we back up 50 thousandths, we wrap it back up to our clearance plane until all the excess material is removed, leaving 5 thousandths, and then it kicks out of the canned cycle. So let's take a look at the code and see what it needs to look like to do exactly this operation. Alright, so here we're looking at the G72 Canned Cycle used in our previous illustration. Now the first thing we need to do is stage our tool in the right position before we start getting into the G72 Canned Cycle. Now we were going to remove 200 thousandths off the face, so we need to position our tool at 200 thousandths in front of Z0, and then it starts counting down from 200 down to 0 in 40 thousandths increments. Now the 2 inches 200 is the clearance plane that it will wrap it back to, and that is a safe clearance plane. Actually that means it's 100 thousandths above the surface where it starts the cut. So the first line of the G72 Canned Cycle is where we tell it how much to take per pass. The W is actually the incremental address for the Z move. So W040 means Z 40 thousandths passes. Okay, so W is the incremental value of Z. R is the retract plane or retract move after it's through with each pass, and then it remembers where it came from. It remembers that it came from X 2 inches 200, so that's what it's going to wrap it back up to before it starts the next 40 thousandths pass. Now the second line of the G72 Canned Cycle is where we tell it how much first of all to leave in X. Now U is the incremental address for the X, and we're not leaving any excess material on X, so obviously that is going to need to be 0. Now we do want to leave 5 thousandths on the face for a finish pass, and so the W, meaning the incremental address for Z, needs to be at 5 thousandths, meaning that it's going to leave 5 thousandths for a finish pass. Then of course the F is the feed rate. That sets the feed rate for this whole canned cycle right here on this second line. Now notice we have a P100 and a Q102. Now those can be numbers like P1 and Q2 or P10 and Q20, as long as they are different. Okay, now what that looks at is the P100 refers to the N100 and the Q102 refers to the N102 down inside the canned cycle where the geometry is located. Okay, so the G72 canned cycle looks at the first N number and the second N number and looks what is in between those two numbers and does the operation based on the information given in the G72 canned cycle. So the very first line on the N100 line, you tell it where the canned cycle needs to stop or where it needs to finish. So we do that with a GO, okay, which means a rapid, and we want to stop at Z0. Now it also will look at this W value, okay, so it doesn't go all the way to Z0 because we have a W of 5 thousandths, but the Z0 is still necessary because otherwise it wouldn't know how much excess to leave. The G1 is actually the end point in X at the very center of the part, and the reason why it's minus 0.064 is because the radius on the tool is a 32 thousandths radius, and so therefore to clean up completely all the way down to the center of the part, we will have to go beyond center by 64 thousandths to get a 32 thousandths tool nose radius to clean up the face of the part. Now the N102 line, you see that's that Z.2, and that is basically where we started the canned cycle, which is Z 200 thousandths. So you can see how simple the canned cycle is. The very bottom line, it tells you how much excess you started with, and that number is usually exactly the number where you started the canned cycle when you first positioned the tool. The first N100 line is where you're going to end, taking in consideration the excess you want to leave. And of course the G1, notice that's a feed line, a linear feed line, is the pass that it takes from X 2 inches 200 to X minus 0.064 in a straight line for each pass. Alright, so that's it for this video. If you liked what you saw, give me a thumbs up, drop me a comment, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so now, and you'll be notified each time I release a new video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.